In this psychological thriller movie, Backtrack, we follow Peter, a grief-stricken therapist haunted by the tragic loss of his daughter, Eevee. The story opens on a quiet night. Peter comforts his wife, Carol, who wakes up from a disturbing nightmare. He reassures her, tells her it's just a dream, and closes a rattling window. It's an ordinary moment, but one loaded with tension. Beneath the silence, both Peter and Carol are suffering. They've recently moved homes, but they can't outrun the pain of their daughter Eevee's death. Her absence haunts them both, in every word left unsaid and every glance across an empty room. Peter, a practicing therapist, throws himself into his work, treating patients with complex psychological issues. His first patient is Felix, a once-renowned jazz musician who's convinced it's still 1987. Peter tries to reason with him, explaining that the venue Felix performs at has been closed for years. Felix remains unfazed.
His world is stuck in time.
Disturbed by this session, Peter confides in his longtime mentor, Duncan, who unexpectedly brings up the accident that killed Eevee. This triggers a flashback. Peter, standing by a window, momentarily distracted, just as Eevee rides out on her bike and is struck by a car. The guilt is heavy, lingering just below the surface of every interaction. Then comes another patient, Erica, a woman who struggles with suicidal ideation and a profound emotional disconnect from her daughter, Benny. Erica speaks in riddles, weighed down by something unspoken. Peter listens as always, but there's a strange familiarity to her pain. That night, Peter sees a strange young girl outside his office. She's holding a doll, silent. She gives him an old train pass with the name Elizabeth Valentine on it. Then, she scribbles the number 12,787 on a note and disappears without a word. Peter is shaken. He doesn't recognize the girl, but something about her presence lingers. The next day, he sees her again, this time pointing at a window in terror before collapsing and fleeing. When he tells Duncan about it, Duncan suggests that Peter might be projecting. Maybe Elizabeth is a manifestation of his daughter Eevee, especially considering their shared initials, Eevee. But things begin spiraling fast. Peter finds the same train pass again. Then he sees Elizabeth, who claims she's with Eevee. For a brief, gut-wrenching moment, Peter sees his daughter's ghost. Then comes a turning point. On a train, Peter meets Erica again. This time, she's lucid.
Come.
And she says something Peter can't forget. I finally understand why I can't die because I already did. Then she vanishes. This moment opens the floodgates. Peter realizes something horrifying. All of his patients are dead. Erica, Felix, Elizabeth, they all died on July 12th, 1987. That cryptic number, 12,787, wasn't random. It was a date. But the rabbit hole goes deeper. Peter confronts Duncan again, but notices something strange. Duncan has no reflection. He's not real. In fact, every patient Peter has treated was referred by Duncan, who is nothing more than a hallucination, a coping mechanism his mind created to keep the truth at bay. Desperate for answers, Peter investigates the only lead that remains, False Creek, a location connected to his dreams and fragments of memory. There, he reunites with his estranged father, William, a retired police officer. Their conversation is icy, full of unspoken tension. Peter also visits his childhood friend Barry, demanding to know what happened on July 12th, 1987. Barry tries to avoid the subject, but Peter pushes until Barry confesses. As kids, they had foolishly left their bikes on the train tracks to spy on a nearby couple. They didn't realize a train was approaching. By the time Peter ran to remove his bike, it was too late. The train derailed, killing 47 people. It's a devastating truth. But it's not the full story. Soon, visions intensify. Peter sees spirits, flashes of a young Elizabeth, and even relives her final moments. Guided by the ghostly presence of Duncan, Peter returns to the old train control room. There, it all comes rushing back. On the day of the crash, Peter had looked through the control room window and saw something horrifying. His father, William, assaulting Elizabeth. In her desperate attempt to escape, she pulled a lever, diverting the train to its doom. William then covered up the truth. He staged her death, buried her among the crash victims, and led the police investigation himself, ensuring no one would ever know the truth. Now, Peter remembers everything. He races home to confront William, who seizes Carol's phone and traps both Peter and Officer Barbara, Erica's daughter, in the trunk of his car. He drives them toward the same tracks, planning to silence anyone who knows the truth. But on the way, William sees Elizabeth's ghost appear in the road. The car crashes. Peter is thrown free. William's vehicle stalls on the tracks. Desperately, William tries to escape, but Elizabeth's ghost pulls him back. And this time, justice arrives in the form of a train. William is killed. Barbara escapes, thanks to Peter. In the aftermath, the truth is finally exposed. William was never a hero. He was the true cause of the disaster and Elizabeth's death. Peter is left staring into the wreckage, but this time, not with guilt, with peace. He sees his patients one last time, Erica, Felix, Elizabeth, now calm, their spirits finally released. On a quiet beach, Peter shares a final moment with Eevee's ghost. She smiles and walks away. It's goodbye. Carol joins Peter by the ocean. Her face is lighter. The weight of grief has lifted. For the first time, they are both free. Peter smiles and says he's thinking about children again. He's ready to live. This film is more than just a ghost story. It's a deep psychological portrait of grief, trauma, and buried memories. Peter's patients were never really patients. They were fragments of his subconscious, trying to bring him back to the moment he spent decades avoiding. Duncan wasn't a mentor. He was the voice of denial. And William? He was the monster beneath it all. In the end, Peter had to face the truth, not just about the accident, but about the role his own mind played in hiding it. Only by confronting that darkness could he truly let go. And Movies concludes.